Test. Test. Test.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to today's worship service. I'm grateful that you're here with us today. We are grateful that you're here with us today. My name is Joe Green. I'm your service coordinator for today here at All Souls Church, where our mission is to seek truth, practice love, and celebrate life. Whether you're joining us for the first time or you've been a member for a long time, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known or not known, whatever your heritage, you are welcome here. Whatever questions you hold, whatever truths you seek, whatever sorrow you have known, whatever joy has filled your heart. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. And this is off the cuff, but maybe you guys will like it. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Why don't we look around and welcome our neighbor? Just say hello. Well, that seemed to go well. We'll give you about 5 seconds to finish up welcoming your neighbor. Great job. Good. That's a bit of church that I missed. I mean, remember the minister used to say. Anyway, all right. Yep. And now for a few announcements. First, I call your attention to the notice of next week's program at the bottom of your order of service. And I urge you to read our weekly email blasts. If you are not receiving that email blast, let me know, let Minister Allen know, let Terry know. We will get you included. Let's see. I invite you to stay for conversation, coffee, and a circle discussion after today's service. And I ask, are there other announcements? And it looks like Gina has one.
Good morning. And I, as maybe some of you know, am the facilities chair on the board coming up. So I get to help with cleaning here. And I want to put a hand out to JC, to Liz, who came last weekend. Raise your hands. Those of you who have been here helping with the cleaning, doing the Saturday projects, I love you. It makes a huge difference for us. But it just is a little bit more than a few handful of people can do. So JC and I will be putting together a schedule. And whatever you can do, if you are walking and even the little crawlers. I had a friend who used to say she and her mom would put on their socks, and that's how they would slide around the kitchen to shine the floor. So we could use everyone's help and time. We'll get that out, and that'll make it easier. Everybody can sign up for a time. We'll let you know when we have the church open. And everybody's help means that less help for everybody. It just makes it go around. So look for that coming up, and thank you, everybody.
Good morning. I'm Liz. I have one very big announcement. So we are coordinating an event with the University of Augustana for an evening in October 22nd with Octang Deng, who is a Sioux Falls resident who came here from South Sudan. She's written an incredible book, and we have several copies in the office if you'd like one. It's, the name of it is Don't Look Back. So Alan wrote a wonderful grant. So we're getting grant money from the South Dakota Department of Humanities, and that's how we're able to have this event with Augustana. It's a great opportunity for All Souls to have more exposure in our community. I've listened to the book on tape, and as I sow, and it's incredible. So I encourage everyone to either, oh, there's the book. Oh. So, and Dan has purchased some copies for the book club. So if you're in the book club, Dan has covered the cost, but we do have a couple extra if you do want to purchase them. You can also purchase them online. We're going to be having a discussion with Dr. Mike Mullen sometime in early October regarding the whole Sudan issue and where Octun came from and more in-depth information. And I think that is there anything?
A couple copies to borrow.
Oh, yeah, and there will be a couple copies that we can borrow too, so we might have to up our ante on those, so. And if you have any questions, let Alan or myself know. Thank you. Oh, you want me to do that too? Okay, so today at 3 o'clock, for the Love of Music, we're doing our performance at the Dow Drummel Chapel, 2 blocks east of Madison Street and Northwest Avenue. Please attend and bring a friend, and we'll have some art there too, other art. Thank you.
And one final announcement, a friendly reminder, especially as we are in a political season. I don't know if you guys have noticed that yet. Let's all remember to be courteous and welcoming and kind to our friends who we can't always count on sharing a political persuasion. So especially outside of discussions where a person has an opportunity to respond. Let's try to avoid making partisan political statements because everyone is welcome here at All Souls Church. Now, our chalice lighting. And for that, we will be reading number 417 in the gray hymnal. And yes, Alan, if you don't mind, I have a lighter if you need it. Just me on this one. For the beauty of the earth, this spinning blue-green ball, yes. Gaia, mother of everything, we walk gently across your back to come together again in this place, to remember how we can live, to remember who we are, to create how we will be. Gaia, our home, the lap in which we live. Welcome us. By Barbara J. Peskin. Now, rise as you are able and feel called to do so, to sing our first song, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. What? How many verses do we have to choose from? All five.
Rejoice Okay, we've got a first reading. I took some readings that were on the, well, I'll call it Michael Dowd's webpage. His wife, Connie Barlow, still curates it. It's called thegreatstory.org. So I looked for some quotes that Michael Dowd had posted there. This is from David Christian. He's Professor Emeriti from Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia. And he's a person who pioneered the teaching of what we call big history, or universal history. It's a history of, encapsulating the whole history of the universe from 13.7 billion years ago, from the Big Bang, up through human evolution, the evolution of life on Earth to our current time. And he's got a course available. You can purchase it on the Great Courses online course recommended by Michael Dowd. He said he watched it twice. I purchased it and I watched it. Michael Dowd, 48 lectures, about a half hour each. Anyway, this is his comments on teaching universal history. I predict that universal history will have a powerful impact on public thinking about the past because it will begin to play a role similar to that of traditional creation stories. It will aspire to create a map of the past as a whole. That map that will allow individuals and communities throughout the world to see themselves as part of the evolving story of an entire universe, just as they once mapped themselves onto the cosmologies of different religious traditions. From the Dreamtime stories of indigenous Australians to the Ptolemaic maps of medieval Christianity. The new universal history will contain a clear vision of humanity as a whole, for within its universal maps of the past, it will be easy to see that all human beings share a common and quite distinctive history. Understanding of this shared history will help educators generate a sense of global citizenship, just as nationalist historiography once created a sense of solidarity within different nation states.
Thank you, Gary. And now we have a story for all ages, which, Gary, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, good. Earth, my first 4.54 billion years.
Could you bring a chair? Oh, Alan's
Yeah,
got a
yep,
chair
Alan's
for
got
me.
that. And then you've got a mic. Great.
It's on.
I invite the children up.
It's got pictures in it. I wished I could have had them, up there, but couldn't get there with this one. I think the adults would learn something from this too, This is a book I brought for my grandson at the Brandon Elementary Grandparents' Day quite a number of years ago. So I had to borrow it from them. I was grateful that they would loan it back to me. Okay, so Earth, my first 4.54 billion years. Okay, there's a happy Earth with eyes and a smiley face. This is by Stacy McNulty, and it's illustrated by David Litchfield. Okay. Let's see how I can get situated here. So, my name is Earth. Some people call me Gaia, the blue marble, the world, or the third planet from the sun. You can call me Planet Awesome. So there's different names for Earth. My family is really, really big. And there's a picture that has some of the family on there. Here's the other planets. There's Mercury and Venus, and then Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Happy holidays, they're saying. Oh, there's Pluto down there too. Don't forget Pluto. Way out, far, far away. I have 7 siblings in my solar system. I'm closest to Venus and Mars. Some used to say I have 8 siblings, but Pluto is more like the family pet. You know, Pluto got demoted from a planet to an exoplanet, whatever that means. And then there are my cousins. My Milky Way family has billions of planets. Today, told you I had a big family, okay? So, you know, our sun is in a whole collection of other suns called the Milky Way, and many of those suns have planets too. My favorite thing to do is spinning. It takes me a whole day to go around once. And I like circling. I circle the sun. That takes me an entire year. My best friend is the moon. We hang out all the time, even when you can't see her. The moon needs 27 days, 7 hours, and 43 minutes, and 12 seconds to go around me. I've timed her. There's the moon, okay? You think the moon really has a headband? The Earth, they show it with a watch there. Okay. I was born 4.54 billion years ago. I don't remember what it was like to be a baby. Who does? But I've been told I was a hot mess, okay? So there's baby Earth. Baby Earth, they show it red. Geologists say that was the beginning of geological time. They called it the Hadean, after the word for, you know, the underworld or hell, Hades. There's probably a lot of volcanism, volcanoes spewing up toxic fumes into the atmosphere. It wasn't anything like the Earth is now. There wasn't good oxygen to breathe then. But, you know, so there's the Earth, explosive, gassy, very cranky. Then I started to cool off and things got wet, really wet. It rained thousands of years. I'm not kidding. Thousands of years it rained. And then we got oceans, okay? I was soggy and lonely. A few islands popped up in my oceans, but no plants or animals. My islands must have been lonely too. They got together, they moved around, okay? Things move on planet Earth, nothing stays the same. They got together and made bigger islands called continents. And they had, I remember, and Nuna and the ginormous Pangaea. So finally it was all one continent called Pangaea. Then Pangaea split into 7 separate continents that we have today. You know, there's North America where we would live, and there's South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, Australia, Antarctica. Things are always changing. And that took millions and millions and millions of years. As I got older, stuff began to grow. Life. Almost half of my life, you probably wouldn't even recognize me, okay? Though I've always been round. 2.4 billion years ago, air, oxygen. There was this thing called the Great Oxygenation Event, okay? There were these little one-celled creatures that developed the ability to use light from the sun, and they started to produce oxygen as a byproduct. And eventually oxygen took over the atmosphere of the planet. And that allowed 470 million years ago, plants could start to live, multicellular organisms. And 400 million years ago, then bugs came about. And 240 million years ago was the first dinosaur. And 210 million years ago, there came the first mammal. probably just a little tiny small thing, you know, the size of a shrew or a mouse. 150 million years ago, birds. Did you know that birds are relatives of dinosaurs? Okay. 130 million years ago, finally we got to flowers. I'm a very pretty planet now. It's not bragging if it's true. And then a long time ago, 200,000 years ago, these creatures came out of the forest and onto the savanna of Africa, and eventually that led to human beings. Now, you and I, we're part of this whole big story. That's kind of cool. The time of the dinosaurs was my favorite. I mean, everyone loves dinosaurs. They lived with us for 175 million years until there was an asteroid. An asteroid crashed into the Earth. So along with that asteroid about 65 million years ago, and maybe some volcanoes, things got difficult to survive in, so most of the dinosaurs died off, and we have left over the birds who were relatives of the dinosaurs. And then we started coming through ice ages, quite a number of different ice ages, and then the planet would warm. And, there's been collisions of other asteroids into the Earth. They find those pockmarks in different places around the Earth. But on the inside, on the same Planet Awesome, and there's a picture of the inside of Planet Awesome. The crust is up here where we live, and inner core is iron and nickel, might be molten. And then there's the outer core, and then the mantle. Humans have been super fun. No other species has ever been interested in learning about me. Other animals are nice, but they mostly eat and poop and never wonder about my amazing life. So here's a picture of lots of human beings doing a lot of different things on Earth. You know, there's telescopes. People are playing, singing, doing art, running, having fun, maybe picking fruit off of trees. There's whales in the ocean. People are swimming in the ocean. But sometimes humans forget to share and play nice and clean up after themselves. So this picture recognizes that sometimes we make a mess of things here on planet Earth too. Here they're pumping oil. Here's ships spewing out exhaust. Here they're catching whales. Maybe we've caught too many whales. They're cutting down the forests. Still, I bet you humans will turn out to do really great things. And here's a bunch of humans celebrating the Earth. They say, "We love you, Earth." Okay? So the Earth is like part of us, you know. We are the Earth. We came from the Earth, and that's a pretty cool place to be. It has a long history. It's an awesome story. Thank you.
Sing the children out. In this congregation, yeah? Okay. In this congregation, we found it helpful to share our ups and downs of our lives by the practice of taking a stone from the bowl, holding it in our hand, warming it, and expressing our thoughts of joy and or concern, and then placing the stone in the water so that the ripples of the water carry our joys and concerns out into the wider world. I'll begin by taking this stone to express a joy, I think, for traveling to Aberdeen and back yesterday with my whole family. And that is a long car ride with a 3-year-old. a really long car ride. So if you see me kind of having that 1,000-yard stare, I probably have a little PTSD from that. But the girls got to go to Storybook Land, which is, if you have never taken children to Storybook Land at Wiley Park in Aberdeen, it is amazing, and it is free if you don't want to ride the rides, right? There's a little roller coaster and a train that's like $250 a person, but it's incredible. That is a joy. And I invite you to come up and express your own joys and concerns, please.
Good morning, my name is Barb, and I lost a good friend on Sunday, someone that I actually first met at this church. So long ago, we were meeting at Nordic Hall. David Johnson was an organic farmer. He lived in Garrettson. We bought his organic meat from him, and he died doing what he liked best, working on the farm in his trailer. It's for David and his family.
I'm Alan, and I'll share the joy and concern of the first day of school. Some of us started that routine on Thursday here in Sioux Falls, and other schools started earlier. And so it's a busy time for families, and I'm working at Joe Foss over at Axtell Park this year as an EA. And the first day we had to announce the death of a student who had died from a gunshot wound a few days before. So a reminder of how tough life can be for some families, and so our hearts go out to the family of Deontay, and have good wishes for all the school personnel, students, teachers, staff, bus drivers, etc.
After that one. This one's a joy. This morning, Charles Taylor presented me with this picture as a gift, and while the picture is beautiful and I enjoy it, the thought is, I appreciate very much the thought. That's what really gives me a great deal of joy this morning.
Hi, my name is Susan. My concern today is a couple weeks ago my daughter had to have emergency surgery, and she's only 4. She was in the hospital for about a week, came home for about a week, and now she's back in the hospital with an infection. So we're hopeful that she'll get to come home in the next couple of days.
My name is Izumi Ken. I came back from Japan, and I really had a really good time with my family, and I went with my son, and he met some relative he never seen before, and I had a really good time with my family after my father passed away, so I really, really appreciate. Also, next week, my daughter Rebecca is moving to East Coast, and she gonna attend some leadership program training. I'm just joy and concern. Thank you.
I'm keeping my track record up. I'm here again. You haven't gotten rid of me yet. So the first day of school was last week, and this was the first year that my daughter, Sadie Elizabeth, did not weep on the first day of school. We always take first day pictures, and on the last, since kindergarten, it's always just been a picture of her crying in front of the school. We always take a picture after school as well, because then she's much happier, and then she usually has like a friend in the photo as well, so that way we can compare and at least have one smiling photo. But this year she smiled the whole time, and that was much of a relief. It only took till 3rd grade. We're getting there. Can't wait till high school. And then we got through the first several birthdays. So now I only have to worry about the 30th of August and the 3rd of September, and then I'm just going to retire. That's it. I'm done with birthdays, so you know. And then something that I wanted to mention, I don't know if it got mentioned because I was late, but we have a mutual aid gathering. Oh, okay. So I'm going to put it as a joy because why not? There's a mutual aid gathering. A few of my friends got together and they were like, why don't we do more for our community? And so the mutual aid gathering is a place where everybody can come and just chat about whatever they would like to chat about. It's potluck style, so people bring food. There's no obligation, so sometimes people just come and make a plate of food and leave, and that's absolutely fine. But my favorite part of it is that if you have stuff that you have is well loved, but you don't want to, just take it to Goodwill or toss it out, you can bring it to the mutual aid thing, and someone who is looking for something new can go and see it and take it themselves. So I've gotten a whole bunch of clothing for Piper there because children grow way too fast. Sometimes they have art there. I know somebody from there works at the Full Book Co-op, and so they bring a lot of books that they lay out that's available for free. Like there's no money, just it's free. It's a joy to go and hang out with the community. It's nice to just chat. They're trying to turn it into a monthly thing, so the next one is tomorrow at 6 p.m. At the Calvary Church. I don't remember the details, but I'll look it up if anybody asks me. Otherwise, you can find it on Facebook too. But yeah, I really enjoy it. It's so nice to sit down and just talk to people, and there's no pressure of spending too much time or not spending enough money or things like that. And if you take something, then that's fine. If you leave something, that's also fine. So I just enjoy it. So that's a joy.
My name is Megan. We had a great harvest last night with tomatoes. So there's a bucket in the back with sunburst. They're orange. They're supposed to be that color. So please take some home because that was just from last night. And I have more coming in the next few days. So.
Hello, my name is Thompson, and I'm starting. It's this one. Hello, my name is Thompson, and I'm starting college tomorrow for the first time at the University of South Dakota, Sioux Falls. Don't know if it's a joy or a concern or both, so wish me luck.
I will now put in one final stone, symbolizing all of the joys and concerns that we did not say, yet hold in our hearts. Now, I invite you to pause with me for a moment of silent reflection as we consider what we've just heard, what's in our own hearts and our own minds. Now, you'll find our second reading in the gray hymnal, number 343. Second song, yes, number 343. A Fire Mist and a Planet to the tune of number 270. Please stand as you are able.
I'm just going to start by putting a stone in here. I'm joyful that I'm able to be with you. It's over 5 weeks. I'm not the same person that I was when I was last here. I'm missing some bone, but instead I have 4 new parts. I had a total right knee replacement, and I'm happy that I'm able to get up, move around, and be with you. I'm still not driving yet, but I'm happy that the last 5 weeks are done and that I'm able to be here. So our next reading is also from quotes that were listed on the Great Story website by Michael Dowd. This one is from Loyal Rue. He is a American a philosopher of religion. He is also involved with what's called the Religious Naturalist Association, as were Michael Dowd and his wife. But he's Professor Emeritus of Religion and Philosophy at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa. This is from a writing he did called Everybody's Story. The universe is a single reality. The universe is a single reality, one long, sweeping, spectacular process of interconnected events. The universe is not a place where evolution happens. It is the evolution happening. It is not a stage on which dramas unfold. It is the unfolding drama itself. If ever there were a candidate for a universal story, it must be this story of cosmic evolution. This story shows us in the deepest possible sense that we are all sisters and brothers. We are fashioned from the same stellar dust, energized by the same star, nourished by the same planet, endowed with the same genetic code, and threatened by the same evils. This story, more than any other, humbles us before the magnitude and complexity of creation. Like no other story, it bewilders us with the improbability of our existence, astonishes us with the interdependence of all things, and makes us feel grateful for the lives we have. And not the least of all, it inspires us to express our gratitude to the past by accepting a solemn and collective responsibility for the future. Michael Dowd would say that we should think of the universe, the earth, as our greater self in that respect. One person has suggested that we like to think of the skin as our largest organ, but maybe it would be more appropriate to think of the whole earth as our largest organ, because we are that intimately connected with the earth. The health of the earth and the planet is our health. Okay, I want to talk about the late Reverend Michael Dowd. He has been a person who has been my main teacher and mentor, though I never met him, from about the year 2010 or 2012, somewhere in there. I describe him as being like a compass for me. He's helped me to realize who I am, where I am, what I should do. I first became aware of Michael Dowd when I, as a member of the Clergy Letter Project. The Clergy Letter Project is a project started by Michael Zimmerman. He's a biologist and a college administrator, in an attempt to fight back against these attempts to remove science from our public school classrooms and teach instead creationism or some anti-evolution curriculum. And it was a letter that he circulated among clergy and rabbis. There's a rabbi letter to state that we saw no problem or contradiction or no issue between our religious faith and science and evolution. Anyway, occasionally they had a monthly newsletter, and they'd offer books. From time to time, authors would give out books, and I put in for this one, and lo and behold, I got it. With compliments from the author. Thank God for Evolution, How the Marriage of Science and Religion Will Transform Your Life and Our World, by Michael Dowd. Okay, so that's how I first became aware of him. And basically what this book does, Michael Dowd realizes that humans are, we're innately religious, okay? We like to gather around shared values, shared meaning, shared stories, shared rituals. And yet we still need to have, and the second part of this book is that he wants to suggest, instead of the old, tired, ancient, so-called holy writ creation stories, that we have enough scientific evidence of this cosmic history, this cosmic creation story, 13.7 billion years worth, that suggests that that's our sacred story. That's the one we need to be talking about and telling. It's the only story that can help us in the time that we're living to realize who we are, where we're at, what our planetary limits and boundaries are, And he was very passionate about this. He was trying to marry it with the language of Christianity. This is really a book of progressive Christianity. He was taking a lot of the words and terms of Christian theology and redefining them. Chief among them was My God is Reality. And thus he got the name Reverend Reality. Somebody called him that, and he just went with it. You know, he bought a green clergy shirt, and just went with that name, Reverend Reality. He was also fond of quoting the quote by the writer Philip K. Dick that went like this. You know, reality is that which, when you stop believing it, is still there. So, you know, he's putting forth for our sacred story what, you know, earlier I talked about it as big history, universal history. He called it the big story. And the name of the website, still curated by his wife, Connie Barlow, is called thebigstory. I believe it's org. Okay. I got it written down here. Thebigstory. Bigstory.org. Yes, .org. Okay. What is the big story? Well, it starts 13.7 billion years ago at the limits of our ability to know. Some people call it the Big Bang, but we don't know if there was a bang. Nobody was there. But everything that exists was in a dense state, okay? And then it started to expand rapidly, explosively. And then it kept expanding and cooling. And as it cooled, the subatomic particles precipitated out of that. And as it expanded and cooled more, finally hydrogen and helium precipitated out of that. And it expanded more and it got clumpy. In certain areas there was lots of hydrogen and helium, and gravity kicked in, started to pull hydrogen and helium together in spheres until they got big enough, dense enough, and hot enough. And then suddenly atomic furnaces started up. You had your first stars and your first light. And everything inside those stars, all the elements up to iron, got cooked up in those storms. Astrophysicists have figured this out, what happens inside different stars of different masses. Okay? All the elements get cooked up to iron, as heavy as iron. You know, there's different processes. They have their own life span. Okay, something like our star eventually would burn out, and then it would kind of inflate to a red giant, and then contract to a dwarf. What do they call it? A white dwarf? White dwarf. Okay. But if they're quite a bit more massive than our sun, after they begin to contract, they'll explode in what we call a supernova. And from that explosion becomes all the other elements heavier than iron. Okay? All the other elements that we've discovered and ordered and cataloged in our periodic table of the elements. Okay? And then you get second generation stars. You know, there's still dust out there, and there's still more hydrogen and helium, and these elements and hydrogen and helium start to, gravity starts pulling them together again, and then another sun will flare up. And then, like our sun here, you get a solar system. And you start to have you know, early in our solar system, there was just a lot of rocks circling the sun, and they were banging and jostling and trying to settle down. And lots of collisions, lots of disorder, and eventually, you know, it kind of settled out into the planets that we have now. Earth started out, you know, as a bunch of rocks, a lot of friction, and some atomic energy. You know, it was hot, so it was molten inside, and then elements started to precipitate out. The heavier ones, nickel and iron, went down to the center, and you got a layering, and the top was a crust, and so there was that beginning of the geological era 4.54 million years ago we call the Hadean. You know, Earth was a hot mess. A lot of volcanic gases spewed out there, and humans couldn't live on that planet, you know. And then, as our storybook talked about, you had a great, eventually, you know, it rained thousands of years, thousands and thousands and thousands rained. Then you had oceans. Then you had some multicellular compounds started to reproduce themselves in an ocean. And some of them produced oxygen, and then you had the great oxidization event where the Earth, you know, oxygen kind of took over in our atmosphere. And then you had the greening of the Earth, where green multicellular plants came into play. And then that leads us to the whole Darwinian, the evolution, biological evolution discovered by Wallace and Darwin, of descent through modification, which finally leads up to you and I. Of course, there's a lot of human history there, you know. We came out of the forests, went out onto the savanna of Africa, started to travel, discovered fire, discovered how to communicate with each other and work together and get along. Then later on, we've discovered other things that have propelled us to where we're at: industrial civilization, coal and oil, with all of its attendant problems. And finally, we get to this blurb on this book that says, this is from John Mather. He was a 2006 Nobel Prize winner in physics. It says, the universe took 3.7 billion years to produce this amazing book. This superconscious creature that's aware of itself, that it is the universe. You know, we are the universe. Become aware of itself. We can think about it. We can talk about it. We can sing about it. We can celebrate it. It's amazing to be part of that story. That's what Michael Dowd was passionate about evangelizing. He called himself an evolutionary evangelist. So I'm going to go back now and talk about some of his biography. He was born in 1958 and grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York. 8 years in Roman Catholic school. Out of school, he went into the army. He was stationed as a military police in Berlin, and he talks about having a born-again Christian experience, which turned him into a fundamentalist, anti-evolution kind of a Christian. He writes about, not long after that, having a Pentecostal experience, including speaking in tongues at age 20. So he got out of the military, and he enrolled in an Assembly of God college, Evangel University in Springfield, Missouri, where he got a BA in Biblical Studies and Philosophy, graduating with highest honors. He says he walked out of his first biology class because the text taught about evolution. But apparently he wasn't such a hothead that he couldn't be reasoned with, and cooler heads prevailed, and he stayed in college, stayed in that class, and eventually accepted evolution. From there, he went and he graduated in 1987 from Eastern Baptist Theological Seminary. I guess they call it Palmer Seminary now, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. From 1987 to 95, he served as a United Church of Christ minister, serving 3 different churches, one in Massachusetts, one in Ohio, and one in Michigan. In 1995, he was disfellowshipped by the United Church of Christ because of a sexual indiscretion. It wasn't a abusive type of thing. It was more of a, consensual thing that he shouldn't engaged in. But he was always open about that. Later in his life, when he went on speaking events, he always sent a letter with the information about that, so people knew, full disclosure of who he was and what his history was. During the time that he was serving as a pastor in Massachusetts, he had what he calls his Damascus Road experience. Okay? He drove 2 hours to Boston to take this 6-week course on the new Catholic mysticism. And it had a profound influence on him. To quote his own words here, he said, "I eventually accepted evolution, but I didn't wholeheartedly embrace it until February 1st, 1988. I took a class with Albert LaChance, who had studied one-on-one with Thomas Berry. Thomas Berry is the author of this book, The Dream of the Earth. This is a Sierra Club book, but he was a Catholic priest and a theologian. He advocated that, we needed a new creation story, and that's the cosmic evolution story. This is a classic in its own right. It should be right up there with Sign County Almanac and Thoreau's Walden. Basically, the seminar started out with this LaChance giving a lyrical presentation of the whole big story, the big history of the universe, and it moved him to tears. To continue with Michael Dowd's own words, he said, "Within a half hour of this presentation, I got goosebumps up and down my arms and legs. I started to cry, and I realized, oh my God, I'm going to spend the rest of my life popularizing this message." Because what he was talking about was this whole vision that we are not separate from nature. We're not separate from the universe. The universe has been expanding and unfolding and becoming more and more complex all the time. And this solar system, the universe, became complex enough that a piece of itself could look back at itself and begin to understand itself. So as humans, we're not separate from nature, but we are the universe becoming conscious of itself. We are nature uncovering its own nature. And so he started studying to that end, to be, do this full time, to tell this story full time. Thomas Berry, he even went down to meet Thomas Berry. Thomas Berry would loan him books out of his own personal library. He studied Miriam McGillis, Matthew Fox, Joanna Macy, and others. Finally, in 1991, he wrote a book, The Earth Spirit, a handbook for nurturing an ecological Christianity. Inspired by those people he was studying, it was an attempt to look appreciatively at traditional Christianity from the perspective of a modern, evidence, science-based cosmology. Basically, it launched his, public profile. He became more widely known. He was invited to speak in places. What he was promoting, he started calling it evolutionary or ecological Christianity. So after his work of a pastor, after 1995, he worked for a number of different organizations, activist environmental organizations, both the East Coast and the West Coast. And then in the year 2000, he went to a lecture given by the cosmologist Brian Swimme in New York. Here's another book that was important to Dowd, The Universe Story, From the Primordial Flaring Forth to the Ecozoic Era, a celebration of the unfolding of the cosmos. This is by Brian Swimme and Thomas Berry. It's a lyrical telling of this whole vast 3.7 billion year story of the cosmos. He went to a seminar by this Brian Swimme in the year 2000, and there he met Connie Barlow, who was a science writer, also a fan of Berry, and she had written a couple of books on evolution herself. She's a evolutionary biologist of repute in her own right. There is an article that she wrote in, I believe it's in 1998, UU World magazine. The title of it is The Way of Science and the Epic of Evolution. You can find it on the greatstory.org website if you're interested in reading it. I mean, we could have a whole talk about just Connie Barlow and her work here too. Anyway, it was a hit. The two of them were a hit in 2000. They got married. In 2001, they were profoundly shaken by the events of 9/11, the attack on the Twin Towers, and they started saying, what is it we really want to do with our lives? And they decided they wanted to hit the road and start telling this great story of evolution to anybody and anyone who would have them. And so he quit his job, she quit her freelance writing. They gave away a lot of things. They bought a van, a travel van, camping van. They decorated it with the Christian fish symbol, and then you see the Darwin fish. Well, they put the two of them kissing on their van. Someone made a comment, said, "That's great, now you're going to piss everybody off." So they became itinerants, calling themselves evolutionary evangelists, and they'd go to wherever they could get an invite. They would do week-long seminars, they'd do weekend seminars. Michael would just preach on Sundays. Mostly they went to UU congregations, but they also went to some progressive mainline Christian congregations, Buddhist organizations, anybody that they would have. In fact, their work was featured in a February 20th, 2006 article in UU World magazine titled "Welcome to the Ecozoic Era, Meet Michael Dowd and Connie Barlow, Two Evangelists of Cosmic Evolution." By the way, Connie grew up as a UU. And Michael did say at one point that he'd been a member of the Church of the Greater Fellowship for many years. During that time, they eventually, he just started to become more and more recognized. The book was published in 2007, Thank God for Evolution. That kind of raised his visibility. It had endorsements from lots of Nobel Prize winners, skeptics, Christians. So that kind of raised his visibility. He was featured in the New York Times, the LA Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Newsweek, Wired, Skeptic, Discover. He was interviewed on CBC, CNN, Fox News, ABC News. He delivered 2 TEDx talks. He gave a program at the United Nations. In the year 2016, both he and Connie were jointly awarded Humanist of the Year by the Unitarian Universalist Humanist Association. He served on the board of directors for the Religious Naturalist Association. He got the moniker Reverend Reality during that time. In the year 2012, he had another major reorientation in the direction and the things he taught. He had a profound worldview shift, and that came from watching a TEDx talk by David Roberts titled "Climate Change is Simple." He said it woke him up to the looming climate consequences that were already unstoppable. And climate learning and advocacy and activism started to take center stage. And then in 2015 he had, I'm going to call this his second Damascus Road experience, although he never called it that, but he read this book right here, Overshoot, the Ecological Basis of Evolutionary Change. Basically, this is just basic biology, basic population biology, as applied to the human population. We're animals. Why do we think that our population functions any differently than other animals? Okay? This book, this is 1980, still relevant. Important book, most important book I've ever read too. The Climate change isn't our greatest predicament. It's a predicament. It's a crisis. It's not going to be solved. There's only going to be outcomes. The greatest predicament that we're facing is too many people wanting too much stuff too quickly. Okay? That's what this book points out. We've got 8 million people. We're quickly on our way to 10 million. That's our basic problem. There's all kinds of other symptoms. Acidification of the oceans, overheating of the oceans, deoxygenation, desertification, deforestation, aquifers being emptied out, and we can keep going on and on and on here, okay? But he began to realize that, and that was a major change in his direction. So in 2019, he pivoted his message to more of a pastoral form of support for those who, like himself, had lost hope that climate change, ecological overshoot, biodiversity loss, and other causes of civilizational collapse that were already underway could be halted. He came to believe, as I do, that we're deep into a 6th or 7th mass extinction event, that we're in runaway, unstoppable climate change, and we already see signs of industrial civilization collapse. Post-doom is the word that he coined for the process of moving through stages of grief when a person realizes that, okay? And he started directing his ministry to helping people move through that and accept it, and yet continue to go live in a calmness and a clarity, and live courageously with love in action on a day-by-day basis. Increasingly, he became known as the post-doom pastor. He wanted to freely share what he was learning, and so there's all kinds of books and videos posted. His reading list became my reading list. It still is my reading list. He made a whole new series of Post-Doom. That's a separate website. You can look that one up, postdoom.com, and where he has interviews with over 50 different people who are working in this area of, what are we doing now? Where are we at? Where are we going? He also began finding wisdom and inspiration in women and indigenous leaders' call for environmental and intergenerational justice. Okay. So after being evolutionary evangelist for about 19 years and speaking to over 3,000 groups, Dowd and Barlow in 2020 were forced by COVID to settle down in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I think he maybe had kids there. He continued some of his post-doom conversations there, and he continued to speak on Sundays as invited in mostly UU congregations. His last message was called Being the Calm in the Storm, delivered at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Flint, Michigan on August 13th, 2023, the last message that he would deliver. He had a section in that message called Honoring Mortality as a Reality, as part of the whole process of life. We human beings die. That's quite poignant that he gave that message and died not long after that. It was through that, I was watching that sermon that I learned about his death. I started reading the comments, and one of them said, just got the news that Michael unexpectedly passed in his sleep. So I had to look it up, and I cried. In October of 23, he drove to Poughkeepsie, New York to attend his father's death while his father was in hospice. His father died October 5th of 2023. Michael was staying at a friend's and staying after, to take care of things, the things you have to do after your loved ones die. He was helping clear the supper dishes, and he took a fall. His hosts offered to take him to the hospital. He opted not to, thinking he was fine. He went to sleep, but he didn't survive the night. An autopsy revealed that he died from a massive heart attack due to long-term undiagnosed heart disease. Go get those heart checks that they offer at the hospitals. Okay. Over the course of his career, he developed this credo. That's my credo also. Reality is my God. You know, God is the total sum of the total universe and the ongoing process of evolution. Evidence is my scripture. There's no supernatural belief in Dowd's thought. God speaks today, now through peer-reviewed science and reason. The epic of evolution is my creation story. It's a sacred story. It can inspire awe and wonder and mystery and reverence. Ecology is my theology. You know, we are learning too late how interconnected we are with all the rest of life on this planet. Ecology is my theology. Integrity is my spiritual path, okay? Integrity. We have to learn within planetary boundaries. There's no infinite growth possible on a finite planet. Fostering a right relationship to reality is my mission. And that's what he did throughout his whole life. You can go online and read some of his tributes. The postdoom.com website has a tab up at the top that lists tributes to Michael Dowd. That post-doom website is being curated by some people that were interviewed by Dowd in one of those post-doom, and the greatstory.org is still being curated by his wife Connie Barlow. So I would, to learn further about Michael Dowd, I recommend checking those websites out, thegreatstory.org or thepostdoom.com. Thank you.
That was inspired, Gary. Thank you. Yep, we will do the offering. The script is blank on that, and of course I'm going blank on that now. So we're going to pass a plate around and put some money in it, and we will do the work of the church with the money that you put in that plate. And half of today's offering goes to Hungry Hearts. I invite you now to read with me the words to receive our offering printed in today's order of service. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And we will be skipping the third song and extinguishing the chalice now. The chalice is extinguished, but light goes with us out into the world. Yeah, skipping the last song. Yep. Thank you, Carol. Please join us downstairs for coffee and fellowship. We'll do that pretty quick. Let's fill up our coffee cups, slam it down, and be back up here in the next 5 minutes or so.